I want to talk about direct action and organizing really quick before it leads into the story, actually. We've been talking a lot about direct action, mutual aid, and organizing, and how we should really get people to come together in this country to push back against the establishment. As I've told you guys multiple times before, it's not necessarily about left versus right for me. It's more about pushing back on the top 1%. It's more about class. It's more about going after capital, basically. Now, we have had labor movements rise up in this country. Last year, there were several of them that rose up. Going into this year, it's still happening. More companies, there's employees that are fighting to unionize. I love seeing that. But I also talked to you last year about a general strike. And I told you before that I really think in order to put real pressure on the politicians that we have, we really need to shut some things down. It turns out the Dutch are doing just that. And I don't know if you've heard this story yet, but if you haven't, welcome. It's time for class. All right, so here we go. I want to explain to you why this is happening and why it is important. Why are Dutch farmers protesting over emissions? Farmers are protesting around the Netherlands as lawmakers vote on proposals to slash emissions of damaging pollutants. Now, you don't have to agree with what the Dutch farmers are doing, but what they are doing is actually, causing a huge effect on the people here. So you can see here's the farmers here. They don't like the way that they're being treated. So they decided to shut things down. Here we go. Move this over here to the other screen. Farmers protested around the Netherlands as lawmakers voted Tuesday on proposals to slash emissions of damaging pollutants, a plan that will likely force farmers to cut their livestock herds or stop work altogether. Now, am I against cutting emissions? Absolutely not. I want us to do as much as we can to help the environment, to help improve the environment as much as we can. So I'm not against that. What I am pro, though, are workers letting the people at the top know, listen, you're nothing without us. You're nothing without the labor. And that's exactly what they're doing here. They're showing them without the farmers, you don't get food. And I'm going to show you a video of that in just a second. Now, it goes on to say, the government says emissions of nitrogen oxide and ammonia, which livestock produce, must be drastically reduced close to nature areas that are part of a network of protected habitats for endangered plants and wildlife stretching across the 27 European nations. As tractors gathered outside the Parliament building, Prime Minister Mark Rutte said farmers have the right to protest, but not to break the law. Freedom of speech and the right to demonstrate are a vital part of our democratic society, and I will always defend them. But it is not acceptable to create dangerous situations. It is not acceptable to intimidate officials. We will never accept that. Here is what the government is proposing. The ruling coalition wants to cut emissions of pollutants, predominantly nitrogen oxide and ammonia, by 50% nationwide by 2030. Ministers call the proposal an unavoidable transition that aims to improve air, land, and water quality. Again, I'm all for improving land, air, and water quality. I'm all for that. But this is showing you the power of the worker. They warn that farmers will have to adapt or face the prospect of shuttering their businesses. The honest message is that not all farmers can continue their business. You hear that, guys? This is the problem. The honest message is that not all farmers can continue their business, and those who do will likely have to farm differently. The government said in a statement this month as it has unveiled emission reduction targets. Livestock produce ammonia in their urine and livestock produce ammonia in their urine and feces. The government in the past has called on farmers to use feed for their animals that contain less protein as a way of reducing ammonia emissions. The problem is compounded in the Netherlands, which is known for its intensive farming practices with large numbers of livestock kept on small areas of land. It is not only farmers being targeted. In the past, the government also cut the national maximum speed limit on highways from 130 kilometers per hour, that's about 80 miles per hour, to 100 kilometers during the day as a way of reducing nitrogen oxide created by vehicle engines. Now, I don't even think that's something we've done here in the United States. I don't see us doing that, like reducing the speed limit to help the environment. So they're taking steps that we're not taking here, to be serious. All right, let's go on here. The government has been forced to take action after a series of court rulings that blocked infrastructure and construction projects because of fears they would cause emissions that breach environmental rules. It is giving provincial authorities a year to work out ways to meet the emission reduction targets. So it sounds like they had a year worth of warning. Now, what are the farmers doing? Some 40,000 farmers gathered last week in the central Netherlands agricultural heartland to protest the government's plans. Many arrived by tractor, snarling traffic around the country. On Monday and into Tuesday, farmers again took their protests to crowded highways, driving slowly along the roads or stopping altogether. Some have dumped hay bales on roads, and small groups demonstrated at town and city halls. In some cases, starting bonfires outside the buildings. You know, in Europe, they really have no problem just lighting things on fire. I've noticed this. They have no problem doing that. I've seen them do it in France as well. They said, forget this, give me the match and let's go. Just something I've been paying attention to. Some farmers set hay bales ablaze Tuesday alongside highways, while others gathered in towns and cities, including The Hague. Farmers argue that they are not being treated fairly. They're targeted as polluters, while other industries such as aviation, construction, and transport also are contributing to emissions and face less far-reaching rules. They also say the government is not giving them a clear picture of their futures amid the proposed reforms. That is a good point that they bring up about aviation, because we know that planes cause a lot of pollution. They do. I don't know if we have regulations here in the United States when it comes to aviation. So to their point, shouldn't stricter rules be put on the larger polluters, such as aviation, and less strict rules put on the farmers? I think that's what they're arguing here. I don't think they're necessarily saying we're not going to do this at all. No, this is ridiculous. I think they're saying that it seems like they're putting heavier restrictions on the farmers than they are on aviation, which obviously causes more emissions. Now, when farmers are on strike, what does that mean for the food industry? What does that mean for the citizens? I want to give a shout out to Wall Street Silver for sharing this on Twitter. Thank you so much for this. Supermarket in the Netherlands, the farmers aren't playing. Fill up your pantries. I want you to check out this video here. There's not really much sound to it, so I can talk over this as well. Now, this is a grocery store here in the Netherlands. Look at this. Look at the shelf. Let's see that one more time. I'll pause. I'll pause over here. It looks like this is where you would, are those onions? I think those are onions or potatoes. So your onions, your potatoes, maybe some of your produce might be over in this section. That's pretty much empty. That's the, yeah, that is the produce section. I mean, unless you want some tomatoes, those are either tomatoes or apples over there. Unless you want that. Other than that, the shelves for the most part are pretty empty. Initially, the farmers said, mess around and find out. They just found out. So this is the power of their labor. This is the farmers standing up to the government, letting them know, look, without us, no food. No food for you. Kind of reminds me of the episode of Seinfeld when they had the soup guy. He was like, no soup for you. No food for you. Now, is this unfortunate for the citizens, for the residents there in the Netherlands? Absolutely. I feel bad for the people there. I sincerely hope people went to the grocery stores and stocked up on food before this happened, but I don't know. But this is disruption. This basically reminds me of what the truckers did in Canada. And whether you agree with what the truckers were fighting over or not, that's besides the point. The point that I want to make is that they disrupt the environment. They made a disruption. They know how much they are actually needed. No, they're not at the top, like economically, but their positions are very much important. Without the truckers, goods don't move. So they knew that, and they used that to their advantage to really shut things down and wake the government up. Now, same thing here. And I really believe maybe this is what the farmers did. Maybe they looked at what the truckers did and said, you know what? Why don't we apply that same logic here in the Netherlands? So this is unfortunate for the people who live there. But hopefully they can come to some type of agreement, because I don't want people to starve. I really don't. But this is the power of your labor. This is how powerful some of us really are. Sometimes we just may not know it. This is what I was talking about when I said maybe we need to shut things down. Because this story is getting a lot of attention. It's not just in European media, it's right here in the US media as well. And because of that, because of what's happening with the Dutch farmers, now the Italian farmers are rising up, and here they come. The Italian farmers, shout out to Keen Bexty. It's happening. Italian farmers are rising up in protest, threatening to take their tractors to Rome. We are not slaves. We are farmers. We cannot make ends meet. Now, this is over a different issue, but they have a point here. Same logic. Let's check it out. The farmer said, not today.
Dovreste venire tutti con noi, perché mancherà il pane sulla tavola a queste condizioni. Non ce la facciamo più! Non ce la facciamo più! Dovreste essere con noi! A Roma, sì, a Roma dobbiamo andare! A Roma, perché non è più possibile! Ehi!
Now, I don't know what he's saying, but Oh, I think someone's speaking Italian in the chat. Is that you, Welch's Grape? Yeah, I think Welch's Grape is speaking Italian in the chat. I wish I knew what they were saying. If anyone can translate, that would be great. There wasn't one offered.
Dovreste venire tutti con noi perché mancherà il pane sulla tavola a queste condizioni. Non ce la facciamo più! Non ce la facciamo più! Dovreste essere con noi!
So you see what they're doing here? They're slowing down the traffic. This part right here.
Più. Non ce la facciamo più!
They're driving really slow, and that disrupts traffic. That disrupts the flow of traffic. So they're forcing people to pay attention to them. Like they're disrupting. Thank you, Welch's Grape. He said, we're not doing it no more. Thank you, Welch's Grape. Thanks. I knew somebody would know. John H., we can't take it anymore. All right. International chat doing the darn thing. But yeah, this is the difference between when they protest over there, they really make a disruption. They shut things down. Same thing. I believe it was London recently. The subway workers went on strike. Can't ride the subway if you don't have the employees. You don't have anybody to drive the trains. You can't ride the subway. They realize that there are certain things that you can stop, that you can shut down, that is really going to put a lot of pressure on the government and is really going to create noise. They know that you can shut down transportation, you shut down the food industry. Those are things that are really going to wake people up, create change. It really makes a lot of noise because people need food and people need transportation. That's the difference between how they protest and how we protest here. I'm going to follow this story as well to see what else happens with the Italian farmers, but I'll just finish this out.
Essere con noi! A Roma, sì, a Roma dobbiamo andare! A Roma perché non è più possibile!
Wow.
Hey!
And again, they said, we are not slaves. They told you, no, this is not going to work out here. Not up in here. I see JB Font is in the chat. Shut down the trucks, the cargo shipyards, and it forces other industries to shut down too. That's right. That's how you really make noise. You have to stop goods from being transported. That's what you do. You got to hit them where it really, really hurts. Eric Gray says, don't forget, Sabby, your European brothers and sisters are not detached from their history. That's right. That's a good point. JB says they push the regulations more on the individual rather than the big corporations who pollute the most. That's the problem. That's the big problem. Jay Taylor, yes, they know how to disrupt and they're not shy about it. No, they're not.